There is a content creator that I personally think makes very, very good content for Genshin. They make a lot of videos where they basically, you might have just heard the voice, where they basically like do challenge runs and solo runs of Genshin, basically just playing Genshin as much as you can while only playing one specific character. And the videos do very good and they're very fun. And yes, it is Mr. Feet. It is Mr. Feet, but Mr. Feet uploaded a video a few days ago while I was on my little break, just titled "A Rant About Genshin Impact," and it's a 39-minute video, dude. Apparently, it's a very good video according to chat. Brings up some good points and goes kind of hard. But I'm curious because the first image here is Kaching in Sekiro. I have no idea what this is about other than just a rant about Genshin. Maybe there's some constructive criticism and stuff. Endgame content, Resin, okay, so it's basically just a comprehensive list of just a rant about Genshin. So let's take a look. No, I'll say what I agree with, what I disagree with, bring up my own points and such. And let's see where this goes, Sir Mr. Feet.
Hey everyone, this video is going to be very different from every other video I've made on my channel. This isn't going to be some highly edited commentary video about some dumb challenge I did for the game.
Nice.
This is going to be a video from Chris, not Mr. Feet, a Genshin player who's been playing since like July 2022, I think, who is AR60, player who's been playing since like July 2022, I think.
July 2021. That's crazy, dude. That's a long time. That's 3 years.
Over 3 years. AR60 and just has a lot of stuff they want to say about the game. I'm not quitting because, believe it or not, I still have fun doing my challenges and making those videos for you guys.
Yeah.
It's actually my main account that I've been losing interest in. Aside from some passive-aggressive remarks,
I can kind of understand when you do all of these challenges. Like, I assume he creates a new account every single time, just pulls for the characters or does like the first temple and tries to get the characters and does it based off of that, right? And not just a level 90 character on his main account. So I think if he does that, I can totally understand losing interest in the main account because, bro, who the f has got time to keep up with the main account and all of these challenge accounts? That's crazy.
That are made in some of my videos. I don't usually give my general thoughts on the game. My videos are centered around the challenges and the stories of those runs rather than my thoughts on the game.
Hell yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to express my opinions about the game and my concerns. And even though this video says rant in the title, I'm not going to be yelling my lungs out and calling the game bad. I really just want to say what's on my mind.
Nice.
If it's not obvious, I
like that. I think that's a good intro, good way to set the tone of the video. Is the volume good, by the way, chat?
Love the game, and I just want to voice my concerns. And this video is also being done live. I don't really have a script for it, but I do have some notes to help me guide through this. I'm not sure what order I'm going to talk about this in, but I'll edit it in post. So if you want to see like timestamps for a certain thought on X, Y, and Z, they will be in the description. And a couple of things before I start this. I just want to say that I want this video to be a discussion. I know that like I'm going to forget about some topics that you guys are probably interested in, but I'm also curious about what you guys think about the game. Like, do you think it's just like in the best position it's ever been in, or do you also share some frustration?
Unironically, I think Genshin is in the best position it's ever been in. We've actually got a little bit more endgame content, although it's not the best, but it shows that there's new stuff coming out. The story quests have been absolutely phenomenal compared to previous nations, in my opinion. The Orcon quest wrapped up nicely with enough to keep us excited for Natlan's Orcon quest and storyline. We've got Hex and Circle lore. All the lore is loring right now. This is by far, for lore lovers like me, dude, this is by far the best Genshin's ever been. That doesn't mean to say Genshin's in a perfect state. I just think it's in the best state it's been in, at least in a very long time. There's still a lot of shit that I want to see added to this game to make it the best it could possibly be.
Frustrations. And lastly, I am going into this video with the full expectation that my voice will not be heard. I have absolute confidence that none of these changes I want in the game will probably ever happen, and I might as well be getting dono-walled by Hoyoverse, but I don't really care. This is still what I want to say. I just want to voice my opinion.
That's just my opinion. Go ahead and cancel me. I don't care.
Yo,
Mr. Feet.
shut the f up, bro.
And I know that some of my questions about certain topics could be answered with just stuff like, it's a business, they want to stretch out playing time, or it's just a game, who cares? And a whole bunch of other shit. I'll be honest, I don't really care about that. Because right now, I just want to yap. And who knows, maybe my wishes will be added to this game, and this video will be dated horribly. Or some of these things may already be in the game, and I'm just an idiot. But I digress. Let's just go ahead and start this.
Endgame content and Spiral Abyss.
The first things I'm going to talk about are the common complaints like no endgame content and increased resin. For me, I kind of accepted that we wouldn't be getting any endgame content at all a long time ago. Like, I'm talking my first 3 to 4 months of playing the game. We have the Abyss, but honestly, I hate the Abyss. It's just not fun. I don't have any...
Completely fucking agree, by the way. Yeah, I still think there will be the potential for better and more endgame content. I am a hopeful person though, and I fully expect, or not expect, but I am fully open to the fact that my hope can be shattered, and something might not come out. And at the end of the day, it is up to the devs and whatever the fuck they want to do with it. But I think even I have ideas for better endgame than we currently have. But yeah, that's yeah.
We have the Abyss, but honestly, I hate the Abyss. It's just not fun. I don't have any problems 36 starring the Abyss, but I feel bored because I'm basically just hitting a training dummy with 1,000,000 HP that will occasionally fight back. It's not fun. It's boring, especially when they add enemies like Magukinki and the Serpent enemies who either have invincibility frames at the start or they just don't fight you. It
took the words right out of my mouth. It took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, dude, the fucking bosses that have invuln frames, like, bro, people underestimate just how annoying as fuck Magukinki is, because you can burn that motherfucker down so fast, but it's still got like an annoying, super fucking ridiculous 10 seconds of invuln where it can still fucking attack you. Dumb shit.
It seems like the difficulty of Abyss is either having an enemy with too much HP, making the enemy avoid fighting you, or just freezing you so you can't play the game. But even though
it's a damage check, not a mechanics or skill check.
I personally don't enjoy it. I recognize that there are people that do see the Abyss as a test for their account, and they like making optimal teams and stuff like that to help clear it. And there are some things that I do like about the Abyss. I know there's controversy surrounding one floor of the Abyss right now with having to protect the pillars against the large amount of slimes, but me personally, I didn't find it to be too bad, and I actually kind of enjoyed it because
hot take here, I enjoy those floors more than the timed floors, because I'm just sick of fighting against the timer all the fucking time. Genuinely.
At times, it did feel like there's a little bit of a challenge trying to defend it. I just wish they did more with the mode of Abyss as a
I wish they did more with the defend mode instead of just putting a bunch of explodey enemies that just auto aggro to the center. I kind of wish they had maybe like a few around the outskirts and the enemies spawned in the middle and you had to stop them spreading out. You know, like a vice versa chat, like an opposite kind of thing. Instead of the enemies spawning on the outside and coming in to just congregate and fuck up the middle, have like 7 different pillars around the outside and the enemies start in the middle and go out, so you have to keep them in the middle. Something like that. Just switch it up a little bit instead of having the same shit for years, you know?
Whole. And I know that this game isn't very difficult because it's not really designed to be. The main thing I want from the
when I first started playing Genshin, I genuinely thought it would get very, very, very difficult because of the elemental reaction system. And I feel like the fact that the elemental reaction system exists is the biggest and only reason, realistically, that I feel like the game is designed for very difficult content.
Game is that if they're not going to make the enemies more interesting, make our gameplay more interesting. I would love to see another mode like Abyss, but it has roguelike features from elements in that one event, and I think like 2.2, the domain.
You know what I want? I want an endless tower. Fuck the Abyss stopping at floor 12, dude. I want an endless tower. Start me at floor 1, let me go to floor 500, right? And the enemies just get gradually harder per level. Not just in terms of health and damage, but also in terms of mechanics and things like that. Give like every 25 floors, give like a boss with mechanics or something. It'd have to be something new, but yeah, give me an endless tower. Just like in, what was that fucking MMO that I played for a while, chat, that all the fucking Genshin streamers quit for like 2 weeks for? Lost Ark. Kind of like Lost Ark.
Main one, you could add a co-op Abyss and a
co-op Abyss is also something that I'm very surprised they've never done. Because I feel like a separate Abyss that is co-opable would do fucking wonders for this game. I feel like it would reinvigorate so many people into playing more.
At one event, and I think like 2.2.
Lag issue, well then it's a skill issue, they can deal with it. There's not that much lag in co-op. There's really not.
Like Abyss, but it has roguelike features from elements in that one event, and I think like 2.2, the domain one. You could add a co-op Abyss, and a change for the main Abyss I would like to see is honestly add more interesting buffs. Genshin just has increase elemental mastery, increase energy recharge. There's interesting ones like getting a damage buff after sprinting for a while, which actually requires you to think some if you want to manage it properly. Look at Wuwa and HSR. Wuwa gave characters another passive in the roguelike event. I don't know if it's still there because I haven't played in a while. And HSR just has a large variety of buffs to choose from that benefit different classes. Could we not have something...
Or like one element only floors, for example, only use Hydro characters for one whole tower? Nah, fuck that shit. I'm sorry. Not to just shoot down your argument there. But, no. I think if we've learned one thing from the fucking Imaginarium Theater, it's that limiting the characters that you can use kind of fucking sucks. Even when it is fun for like a little bit of time, limiting your characters in a gacha game where you pull for said fucking characters kind of fucking sucks. It just fucking does. Just give us difficult things to use whatever characters we want to use on. Sure, you can make a boss where you've got to trigger certain reactions, maybe, and then you can still use other characters in the team, but I really don't want them to make another endgame where they're like, yeah, so 90% of the roster you just can't use. I just
similar to that, to buffs that like increase the effectiveness of like an element or a weapon.
I also like Imaginarium Theater, by the way, folks. I do. I like Imaginarium Theater. I just think that part of it kind of fucking sucks.
To that, to buffs that increase the effectiveness of like an element or a weapon or like character abilities. And I mean more than just the ley lines, like a buff that you can choose to add to your team and make it so that like... I don't know, like if you have a shield on your team, damage just gets reflected back at enemies, and the effect can stack more with more shields you have. You can do like fun team comps with like Zhongli, Diona, other shielders I can't think.
That would be very fucking cool, actually. That would be very, very cool. I like that idea.
Think of off the top of my head, like a 4-shield team comp. That could work. Just cool, interesting stuff like that. And then for the players who don't want to do that and actually test their account, then you can add a 4th card that tells the game, hey, I don't want any buffs. That way they can do it normally. Or hell, if you're not going to update the Abyss, then just make a separate permanent roguelike mode. You already had the formula down, just put it out again. There's so much potential with in-game content that you could literally make a mode where players choose enemies, bosses, their levels, and their placements, and people can just make the in-game content for you. Just give them the tools.
Well, actually, Mr. Feet kind of reminded me here of... Isn't that going to be a thing? Didn't Genshin put out a like job application form kind of thing for people to be creating something that will coexist inside of Genshin but basically be its own game where people can use like tools to create their own in-game content and shit? I wonder what ever happened with that. I wonder if that ever went anywhere or if it's still in the works or what.
People can literally make their own Abyss and just like make a code and send it out to other people to try it.
Yeah, like Roblox, right? That's what we said at the time. It was kind of like Roblox. I still think that'd be amazing.
You could just make this a side event, then review the feedback, and then just don't make it permanent and lock it away with all the other fun events you do. We did get new permanent endgame with the theater, and I think it's fine. Is it everything I've ever wanted it to be? No, I don't find it to be that fun, but I'm not going to complain about new permanent content because that's what I want to see more of.
Exactly, and I think that's the main point here, dude. So many people that are like, we need more permanent endgame content, and then Imaginarium Theater comes out and they're just like, it fucking sucks, it sucks, it sucks, without giving any kind of constructive criticism or feedback. It's doing more harm than good, because instead of giving them feedback to fix it and like make it better, instead, if I'm a game dev dude and I bring out endgame content that took me like a year to come up with and actually get implemented into the game, or even 6 months, and the massive backlash is just it's shit without giving any feedback, I'm not really going to be fucking inclined to make any more, you know? I'm good.
I would rather it be here than it not be here. The only thing that worries me about the mode is that it requires so much investment in your characters, which could be demotivating to some.
I like that about it. Am I crazy for that? Am I crazy for that take? I really like the fact that your characters need investment. I actually think instead of limiting it to certain characters, it would be cooler to limit it to characters in general that are over a certain level and friendship level and stuff. Because then it is endgame content. It literally is just endgame content. That is the whole definition of it. You need to build your characters. You need to level them up. You need to get to a certain point to be able to do endgame content. You know?
Especially if you don't have many high-rank friends who could give you characters, or if you really wanted to play as your favorite characters, well, you can't. Have fun with Toma. Additionally, they added the little extra missions you can do to unlock trails for some characters, which, it's nothing big, it's harmless, but I'm glad it's something different for the game, and it's just something.
Resin! Curious. The resin section's long, dude. Fucking hell. We just got the increase to 200, which feels great.
We got 200 resin with 4.7, I believe, which was exciting to a lot of people since this is something that we'd been asking for a long time. But when it happened, I just kind of felt like whatever. This change didn't seem like it happened because they finally listened to us, but rather because of Woowa's release. If I'm just being honest. I mean, seriously, why would they give us 200 resin when HSR and ZZZ both have 240 resin and 6-minute recharge rates?
There's the kicker. That's the kicker. It's the recharge time, dude. The recharge time is the biggest problem. I think 200 resin is fine, but the recharge time makes it basically non-existent. It just doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter.
Compared to our 8. And plus, they just released a mode that encourages you to build a lot of characters. So wouldn't it make sense to increase the resin system and
it's still better. Yeah, but it's like, there's a point where you can also be like, it's still better than what we had, but it's not really good enough for where we are. Like Lola says, dude, we got the increase from what, 120 to 160 in 1.1. We're now in 4.7 and only just had a 40 resin increase, dude.
Recharge rates, so we have an easier time to build those characters. And on the topic of resin, this may be a hot take, but I think we should just remove condensed resin or change how it...
Whoa! Hold on.
Charge rates, so we have an easier time to build those characters. And on the topic of resin, this may be a hot take, but I think we should just remove condensed resin or change how it works. Like, seriously, why can't we just make the domains have a 40 cost with the condensed rates and turned the condensed resin system into a proper overcapping resin system?
No. Bad idea. No! I don't like that. Okay, wait, he might be onto something. Sure. You know what? Give us 40 cost domains if you're going to give us 300 resin. If they're going to keep it at 200 fucking resin, do not put the domain cost to 40. Fuck that. No, that would be dreadful. That would only be a good change, in my opinion, if they totally fucking remove the daily limit locks on certain equipment. That shouldn't even be in the game at this point with the amount of different things that you need, dude. It's fucking crazy. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. I think condensed resin is fine. I think also domains costing 20 resin is a good thing, not a bad thing. Yeah, no. And then you can spread out your resin spending more if it's just 20 resin each.
And turned the condensed resin system into a proper overcapping resin.
The overcapping resin system is something vastly different, which I do want them to add, but I don't think that goes hand in hand with condensed resin. I think they can coexist at the same time.
System. It's kind of like that now, but again, let's compare to games like Star Rail, where it overcaps to 2400, while we only get a max of 5 condensed resin, which translates to another 200 resin. I'm not saying we...
And you have to log in to actually do that.
...need 2400 like Star Rail does, but I think we could all agree having...
HSR is literally like that, if I remember correctly. Relics cost 40. HSR also has a faster recharge time and more resin. That's my point.
More than just another spare 200 resin would be nice to have. And plus, there's the crystal flies, which this might be a nitpick. Is it really necessary to have to collect these crystal flies, teleport to a city, go to a crafting table, get condensed resin, then teleport to a domain? And
I agree with this point completely. I think you should just be able to condense your resin from the fucking resin screen for 0 cost.
Then spin the resin. Or, better yet, we can use the crystal fly generator, wait a whole week, and now we have enough crystal flies to last 3 days. Wow. Changing this would also be helpful in those scenarios where you might have logged into the game, immediately did your condensed resin, then later realized, oh, I need 40 resin to do this one boss, and now I can't do it unless I use fragile resin because I wasted all my normal ones on condensed. And since...
Also, yeah, what's the whole deal with not being able to use condensed resin on bosses? Oh, I guess because bosses do cost more. Makes sense.
We're still on the topic of resin. I think we should just remove daily materials. It's just frustrating and it feels dated. Just have the option to where we can choose one of the three materials for whenever we do the domain. Why should I have to wait on Tuesday, Fridays, and Sundays to collect balls from the Trial Grounds of Thunder? Why?
Bro, you should be able to collect balls whenever the fuck you want. This is my biggest pet peeve with Genshin right now, dude. It's my biggest pet peeve with the whole game. Bro, one of the worst feelings in the whole game is when you get a new character or you get a new weapon and you just want to level it up and you click on it and it's like, no, sorry, you can't do that for another 2 days. In which case, in those 2 days, you might not be able to play the game. Remove this system. It's so fucking outdated, dude. So outdated.
Why can I only collect this one book that I need on Monday, Thursday, and Sunday? It just feels like such an artificial way to stretch playing time, but if I end up coming back onto a...
I don't even know if it's an artificial way to stretch playing time per se, because people just won't log on the other days. I just think it's a bad system.
Special day, and I
think it made sense when the game first came out, maybe, but right now, dude, after the game's been out for 3 years, 4 years, almost, bro, remove it. It's so outdated now.
Spur of the moment think, oh, I need to use Resin on a world boss or a weekly boss for the level up materials because there's so many materials you need to get to level up characters that I forget, oh, it's Friday, I should have went to go collect some balls, and now I have to wait for Sunday to do it then. Why should the punishment for such a simple mistake range from using fragile resin to waiting literal days? This just seems like a feature that started in older...
Disclaimer, Genshin was my first gacha in 2021 and I've only played 6 of them, so I'm not sure if this is common still or not. To me, it feels dated for a game like Genshin. I agree, and I don't think it is common, right? Ruwa doesn't have it, HSR doesn't have it, ZZZ doesn't have it. Even the older gacha games that I've done like sponsor streams for and stuff, I've never seen that system in any other game. I really haven't.
Gacha games, but I would like to think that the genre has moved past that, and I would like to think that Hoyoverse also thinks that because HSR and ZZZ don't have materials locked behind specific days. The local resources system...
I'll keep it a buck, chat. If Genshin actually made that change to make it so that you could farm whatever domain you wanted whenever you wanted, instead of locking it by the day, I don't think there's anything else in the game that super irks me. I think that's it. I think that's the main thing. Like I said, there's certain things that I'd want to change and stuff, but I think if they made that change, I could sit back and be like, you know what? Yeah, no, this is a good fucking game. Weekly bosses too. Weekly bosses I can understand. I genuinely can, because yeah, that is just artificially making it longer to be able to level up certain character skills and stuff. If you just farm a shit ton of weekly bosses, then you're not going to have to farm the weekly bosses ever again, pretty much. I get that more so than just general domains. General domains is crazy to me. But I do think we should be able to repeat the same weekly boss 3 times. Yes, I think that would be a good thing. Honestly, Sam, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I'm a doctor. I like to play on my very little free time, having to wait days when sometimes I can't even log in. Those days is horrible. Honestly, Addison, how fucking dare you? How fucking dare you brag that you do a job that is highly necessary and takes up so much time that people don't appreciate you putting so much effort and time into fixing other people's lives and saving other people's lives? Fuck you. Okay, you didn't sound like you were bragging. He didn't at all.
Isn't resin related, but...
If you do get a cough, though, and a snake comes up to you, please get yourself checked, because we've seen that happen far too many times. And honestly, we've only seen it happen once, but that's still too many.
I'll also just talk about it now because it takes like 3 days for the materials to reset. I don't really have a problem with that since you are exploring and it doesn't cost any resin, so you can do it at your own pace. But I would at least like there to be a dedicated store in each nation that sells all of their materials with a shop that resets every week. I know that there's
what materials again?
Materials to reset. I don't really have a problem with that since you are exploring and it doesn't cost any resin, so you can do it at your own pace. But I would at least like there to be a dedicated store in each nation that sells all of their materials with a shop that resets every week. I know that there are some places like this, such...
Like in Wuwa, is he basically saying? Shit's fucking expensive in Wuwa. But, yeah, I think that'd be a good addition for Genshin as well. Honestly, one of the most tedious things for me is going around collecting the specialties. It really is. Like Risley's stupid-ass fucking beetles.
As that one girl in Mondstadt who sells, like, wolf...
Oh, I guess that's Ascension, man. It's not even specialties.
Hooks, those, like, Barbara mushrooms and Noel berries. And I think there's a guy who sells, like, the Kale and Wanderer mushrooms every 3 days. But there are materials that just aren't...
Yeah, exactly. They're just unfun.
Sold by any vendors. And we have to collect 168 of these things to max out a character. I think each nation should have a dedicated, improperly labeled store that sells every local specialty in a quantity of like 10 to 15 each week. I'm okay with having the vendors available in the open world, in that they basically do what I'm asking because you could get 10 Valberries in a week from the Flower Girl. I just believe that having a store that has all of the nation's local specialties would be a nice quality of life change to have, in addition to a variety of vendors spread out in the world that sell some resources instead of another.
I totally agree with that. Honestly, these takes have been pretty good so far. A couple that I've disagreed with, but overall, I think these are good takes. And honestly, these are Mr. Feet's opinions, so they're not wrong. I just have a different opinion. World bosses.
World bosses are...
I I don't have much to say about world bosses apart from they're far too fucking easy.
Right, the materials just sometimes don't make any sense. Sethos is a character that comes from the Sumerian desert. Okay, I get that. Why is his boss a creature from Leeway that doesn't even drop electro crystals? The only reason I see them doing this is because it's a recent boss, but this reason becomes more obsolete as more patches come along. It just completely...
What was this? Mika has a similar problem. Why does a Mondstadt character who needs Mondstadt resources have their boss at the Setek Wiener in Sumeru's desert who doesn't drop cryo crystals? Yeah, the fact that it doesn't drop cryo crystals and also is the Ascension boss is very fucking strange. Lore-wise, I would assume it's just because he's, what do you call it? The map person and maybe traversed Sumeru, but that still really wouldn't make sense. No, I agree.
Boss, but this reason becomes more obsolete as more patches come along. It just completely dates the situation. There's literally an electro flower in Sumeru he could use. Let's look at Shinha and her boss, a character that was raised in Leeway her whole life, and her boss is now at the very end of Onkonomiya, an area that is locked behind the Inazuma Archon quest, which is locked behind AR-30. Additionally, another problem I have with the boss is
I think that makes perfect sense. And I will not elaborate.
Is that since the game is getting bigger and more characters are being added, it is becoming harder for people who are new to the game to enjoy new characters because of their materials. It's like getting a toy, but you're being told you have to wait until Christmas to use it, but it's July. Imagine if someone who just started the game did a 10-pull on character banner or standard banner and they got a Farazan. They could get her to level 40 tops, but after that, assuming they are still in Mondstadt or hell, even Leeway, you would have to go from here to here, all in the dark, just because you wanted to level up a character. And then we have Fontaine. Fontaine.
But I think this also might be a bit of a hot take here. I also think that's fine. This might be a bit of a hot take, and I'm totally open to this being a bit of a hot take, but I think there's that many accessible areas in Genshin right now where you can just go and level up characters. If it's openly available, the only one is in Inazuma, right? You can go pretty much anywhere else. I think it's okay. This game's an open world exploration game. You're going to get to the nation anyway eventually. You can prioritize going that early if you do want to level up the character, but if you don't, then yeah, just play through the game. I think it's personally not a big issue, but I can understand the frustration of a new player maybe, getting a character like Farazan and having to go all the way to Sumeru if you want to play linear, you know? If you want to play the story as intended and come across the regions as intended. I can understand it. I just don't think it's that big a deal, personally.
Here, all in the dark, just because you wanted to level up a character. And then we have Fontaine. Fontaine is much more accessible than Sumeru or Inazuma because they actually give you a teleport. However, they do a job of telling the players that. Here, I'll show you the screen in which you unlock the teleport for Fontaine. Tell me if you noticed it. Alright, if you did, that's the first test. Now tell me where's the teleport that's
oh wow.
Fontaine. Job of telling the players that. Here, I'll show you the screen in which you unlock the teleport for Fontaine.
That's funny. Holy shit, that's funny.
Tell me if you noticed it. Alright, if you did, that's the first test. Now tell me where's the teleport that's been unlocked. Trick question, you can't. If a new player wanted to see that they could go to Fontaine, they would have to know to look at this black blob, notice nothing is there, but then zoom in and there is a...
Ew. Bro, why? Oh, God.
Teleport waypoint.
Skill issue? Nah. The game needs to do a better job at explaining that you've just unlocked a teleport waypoint in Fontaine. Just zoom, Lamau, that's not the point. The game is not doing a good job here of telling the player that they have unlocked a new fucking region. That is a game problem. That is not a skill issue. That is a problem with the game.
What were they thinking? If nothing is there, why would someone think to zoom in? There is no way for a new player to know this without looking it up. Genuinely no way. Just have a pop-up after the Archon quest notification. It's that easy. I appreciate the change to make the bosses respawn every 10 seconds. I really do. But I think they need to add a teleport change also, or at least give the players a temporary one. Just have the option to teleport to the boss, or even allow players to gain more resources through the trial run. And you can do that.
Let me replay this part again. Sorry, my brain turned off for a sec.
Add a teleport change also spawn every 10 seconds. I really do. But I think they need...
Yeah, I think the bosses respawning every 10 seconds is a huge thing.
To add a teleport change also, or at least give the players a temporary one. Just have the option to teleport to the boss, or even allow players to gain more resources through the trial run. And you can do that by making them do additional challenges, like making them trigger the elemental reaction X amount of times, or doing something in a certain time limit. Just something. And speaking of resources...
So here's the problem with this. I don't think they're ever gonna give you more ascension material specifically for a character to get them to like level fucking 60 or 70 or something from the character trial, because we need to spend resin on those materials and kill the bosses. Like that's one of the biggest things of the game, right? Like in HSR, yes, like in HSR. Yeah, the trial rewards are gonna stay the same. They ain't gonna improve those that much. They still want us to spend the resin on the bosses. Resources, just in general?
For a newer player, resources are a complete nightmare. If you are starting from the beginning, you can pretty much only pick 2 characters out of your team to level up consistently between the ascension ranks. And the fact that normal enemies at lower world levels don't even drop material sometimes is just ridiculous to me. Oh, and going back into boss resources, the fact that I am AR 60 and can still get 2 drops from a boss, which also is something that a level 1 player can do, is literally insane. How?
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think it should be a minimum of 3.
Is this even possible? I should be getting 3 minimum. There is never a chance I should be getting 2 at AR 60. There is literally no progression.
At both world level 0 and 8, there is a 50-50 shot you get 2 drops. Oh, I hate that I know that information now. Holy fuck, that's gross.
What? They finally started adding more content towards the end game, but the early game experience and quality of life are so...
Is it true though? I mean, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense. The only difference is at world level 0, it's between 1 and 2, and at world level 8, it's between 2 and 3, but it's still a 50-50 chance to get 2, or close enough to 50-50.
At AR 60, there is literally no progression. What? Oh. They finally started adding...
No, there is progression. That's unfair to say. There definitely is progression, because you can get 3 instead of 1. You can never get 1. But yeah, that's still crazy.
More content towards the end game, but the early game...
There's definitely still progression there.
Experience and quality of life are so far behind in changes that newer players or players that are starting to feel tired after like AR 40 will probably never experience this stuff because they would just want to drop the game.
Oh my god. I also forgot to mention that the grind for resources does not feel as rewarding as it should be, considering that you have to wait days in order to get materials, and a condensed resin would get you 4 to 5 of a blue or green material guaranteed. Yeah, I think I agree. Around 20 a day if you use 5 condensed, when you need 63 blue bucks and 30 purple bucks, which aren't guaranteed from drops even at max world level to get all 3 talents to level 8. Yeah. You can spend literally hundreds upon hundreds of resin in a day on the talent domain. In which, realistically, chat, because they're limited to certain fucking days instead of like instead of what we were saying before, where every domain's open every day, right? You pretty much have to use fragile resin at that point, or spend money to resin refresh. You can spend hundreds of resin and still not be able to 888 a character. That's not even triple crowning. 888. Devil's advocate, but would you say that this is good because we've been focusing on the early game experience, so we don't need to push that far into the game to get access to similar materials per Mr. Feed? No, because that's not what this point is. It's not having access to certain materials. This is not getting enough materials. Story quests! I'm curious about what Mr. Feet has to say about story quests. I feel like story quests have got so fucking good, dude. So good in Fontaine.
Early on in Genshin, the story quests were short, concise, and usually focused on the titular character. But after I'd say the second concise and usually focused on the titular character.
Was Xingqiu's not? I thought it was.
But after I'd say the second Shogun quest, the story quest writers at Hoyoverse decided to just have a competition in the lunchroom to decide who could make the biggest piece of dog shit in the game. And by the way, I heard the person who wrote Nilu's quest won that one. They have started to pick up, however. I will give...
I mean, I've been saying it for over a year at this point. I'm sorry.
And by the way, I heard the person who wrote Nilu's quest won that one. They have started to pick up, however. I will give them that. I enjoyed Nouvelettes, parts of Farina, parts of Risley.
Also, wait a minute. Did bro say the second right? Hold on.
Usually focused on the titular character. But after I'd say the second Shogun quest, the story quest writers at Hoyo...
Okay, after the second Shogun quest. Okay.
First decided to just have a competition in the lunchroom to decide who could make the biggest piece of dog shit in the game. And by the way, I heard the person who wrote Nilu's quest won that one. They have started to pick up, however. I will give them that. I enjoyed Nouvelettes, parts of Farina, parts of Risley. Shunyun was good, and Arlecchino's was also pretty good. For the most part, I would say that Fontaine has had a redemption arc, but the end of Inazuma and Sumeru was garbage.
I mean, bro's not, and like... There's no right or wrong, it's an opinion, but I don't disagree. I don't inherently disagree.
downward spiral started with around Yae Miko's in my opinion, but bad story quests did exist before hers, like Shogun Act 1. But even though that quest
Tainari, Nahida. Okay, but saying 2 great story quests doesn't mean there weren't other bad story quests, right? I liked a lot of the story quests in Sumeru, but Nilu's was a thing. And it kind of did taint it for me, but not for the whole of Sumeru, obviously. A lot of the story quests are phenomenal. They were fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just weren't for him.
Sucks. At least we are spending a majority of the time with the Shogun. I would much rather take pictures of her in the city than spend 15 minutes talking to an NPC talking about something that 1, will never be mentioned again, and 2, I will never see that person ever again. It also doesn't help that the quests have gotten a lot longer since the beginning of the game. The first 5-star story quest you can do in the game is Cleese. Do you want to know how long it is? It's like 40 minutes if
It's me!
you're watching cutscenes. 20 if you're skipping everything.
Oh my god, it looks so fucking different,
You want to know how long it is? It's like
Jesus Christ.
It is a short and simple story, and you learn everything you need to know about Klee. Now let's look at Nilu's quest. Nearly an hour.
It's big. Oh my god, the long hair, dude. Oh god, get me off the fucking screen, Jesus Christ. Mr. Feet, stop!
In 40 minutes. This is kind of the average length for story quests now, which I would be fine with, but they just focus on random NPCs. We care about the
Yeah, so I was making my own thumbnails too, and I was fucking dreadful at it.
playable characters in the story quest, not NPC, male model B, hair color brown, Inazuma clothes orange. NPCs have their place in the game to help the world feel bigger and more alive. But the story of a character story quest should be about the titular character.
I agree.
Now, let's compare this quest to an actual important quest like the newest Stainslift quest, Bedtime Story.
Okay.
An hour and 15 to like an hour and 20 minutes. Are you kidding me? Why is the story about Ayato fixing a divorce longer than a quest about us seeing our sibling again? Why?
Okay, he's got a point. He's got a point. But Ayato's story quest was centered around him, in my opinion, because it was... Listen, guys. I have some hard fucking truths for you, okay? A lot of people like to use the whole Genshin character story quest should be about the character when they just don't like a story quest. Because here's the problem with that take on Ayato's story quest. That whole quest was centered around Ayato. Ayato's just boring as fuck. Ayato works a 9 to 5, dude. He runs the fucking country. He's a politician. He's boring. He's fucking boring. But the story quest shows that. He's a cool-ass character. His job is cool as fuck from an outside perspective. But when you're doing his job, it's boring as fuck. Not every character is a superhero. Not every character is a supervillain. Some characters are just there to keep the peace, dude, and fucking officiate weddings and shit. Some characters are just there to do that. The problem with Nilu's is that we'd already seen a day in the life of Nilu pretty much 5 times before we had a day in the life of Nilu featuring NPC 3000. That's the main problem. Bro, Dunyazad had a bigger part to play than Nilu, in my opinion. Not in the story quest, but in general. I feel like Dunyazad was more memorable. Like, Dunyazad in the quest stuff is more memorable than Nilu's story quest for me. Genuinely.
Is the story about Nilu trying to save her theater and win a debate longer than the Dane quest that give us important lore.
It took me 3 or so months to do and finish the Ayato story quest.
Understandable. Thank you for 69 pennies.
Trying to save her theater and win a debate longer than the Dane quest that give us important lore, have an NPC that actually matters to the main story and gives us a chance to see our sibling, which is the whole point of the story. Why is Nilu's quest longer? She doesn't even win the debate.
Oh, you put it like that. Fucking hell.
Point of the story. Why is Nilu's quest longer? She doesn't even win the debate. Anaya has to come in and stop it so it ends. It's just comical at this point. If you're gonna have the NPCs yap for this long, then at least just add a...
But Dainsleaf quest is always there, not like story quests. This might be new to you, but the story quests are permanent.
Have the NPCs yap for this long, then at least just add a...
Skip cutscene button. Now, I'm going to give my thoughts on this before Mr. Feet. Why cutscene? Just the cutscene? I mean, it's fucking nuanced at this point. But I think Genshin Impact should have a skip button. Would I ever use it? Yeah. Would I ever use it for main story or story quests? Absolutely fucking not. I would use it for Hangouts. I would use it for, well, maybe not even Hangouts. I'd use it for unimportant world quests or lesser important world quests, and I'd use it for daily commissions, because one of the biggest things for daily commissions, dude, so fucking boring. So fucking boring. Hangouts already have a skip button, then add it to the rest of the game. I don't do Hangouts anymore, but just because I found them not my cup of tea, basically. And if anybody's using the stupid-ass excuse of, oh, but if I don't want them to add a skip button because then the people that skip lore are going to be insufferable. Bitch, they're already insufferable. They already don't fucking read the lore. They just got one extra thing to bitch about having to sit through skipping it themselves. If anything, it's gonna fucking help.
First glance, this may seem like the most obvious complaint that I would have for the game, since most of my videos revolve around me having to play through the game and listen to the dialogue all over again. And while yes, this change would help me get challenges done faster by probably 5 hours, that's not my main reason for wanting these. I've played through the game multiple times without one of these, and I will continue to do so, regardless if it's ever there. I want a skip cutscene button mainly for quality of life and the world quest. I genuinely cannot understand the argument as to why it's not an option, unless there's some sort of physical limitation. I've seen one
Yeah, so here's one of the biggest advocations for a skip button from my point of view, chat. World quests are fantastic. And honestly, even if you enjoy the R&R quest, that shit's like 8 hours to actually unlock a part of the world. If that was an 8-hour quest to not unlock anything meaningful, I'd be okay with it. But it's not. You're unlocking a whole part of the fucking map.
Comments say that the reason they do this is to maximize time with the characters so you would like them more and want to pull for them. Or that they don't add it because quests would be done so fast and people would complain about filler patches. So let me say this. As for maximizing time with the character...
Not exclusive for R&R? No, but it's the first one that popped into my mind. What other super long quests have we got that unlock actual areas though in the game? Enconomia? No. Enconomia quest is quick as fuck, dude. What? Enconomia quest was like a couple of hours, no? Like 2 hours or 1 hour. Chenyu Vale? I've unlocked Chenyu Vale. I've barely even started the quest. Or do you mean the next part of it? Maybe. I don't know how long it takes to actually unlock it.
Add it because quests would be done so fast and people would complain about filler patches. So let me say this. As for maximizing time with the character, I feel like I know just as much about these characters before I did their quest than I do after doing their quest.
Nilu, yes. Ayato, honestly, no. I didn't really know what Ayato did too much before his quest. I'm not saying I found it the most interesting quest in the world, but I feel like it did give us a bit more perspective on his actual character. Yoimiya? I'm trying to think. We didn't even know Yoimiya before her quest, right? I think she was introduced to us pretty much during a quest, so I think that was also very much about her. Part 1 I'm speaking about here as well, not Part 2. Part 2 is very different, but Part 1 I'm pretty sure was an introduction to her character. Yolan's a tough one for me. It was a very long quest, and it was very fucking boring. In my opinion, the best thing we learned from the Yolan quest was Regreda.
Just as much about these characters before I did their quest than I do after doing their quest. If anything, being forced to spend time with a character that you don't like or don't care about only makes the experience even more frustrating. And as for the argument of quests being...
I don't think I've ever had that experience specifically. Also, brother, what do you mean you don't care about Kakata? Listen, okay, Mr. Feet.
Request. If anything, being forced to spend time with a character that you don't like or don't care about only makes the experience...
But that's her job. No, that's the point. It wasn't her job, right? It was the person's job, the old man's job. She was just filling in for someone, I'm pretty sure, for Yolan. I'm pretty sure her job isn't interviewing 3 people for a role to take over somebody else. Her job, she has a better job, which is more so, you know, doing all the cool fucking spy shit, which the quest could have been about. Ayato doesn't, I feel like he doesn't really have another job. He just fucking travels the nations and does political shit.
Experience even more frustrating. And as for the argument of quests being done fast and people complaining, let's be real. People are going to complain about everything. That's literally what I'm doing right now. If that patch doesn't end in 0, 1, or 2, there are going to be people calling it a filler patch. I am a firm believer that in any game, cutscenes should be skippable. And one of the biggest complaints about this game is the inhumane amount of yapping these nobodies do. I've had friends drop the game simply because they didn't care for the story, but the game forces them to spend hours doing it. And so
okay, I think when he says cutscenes, by the way, chat, he's talking about the dialogue scenes, not cutscenes as we know them. The way that he's explaining this doesn't sound like he's meaning just skip cinematics. It sounds like he's saying skip the dialogue scenes.
Sometimes without you ever exploring or fighting anything, which is a topic I'll get into a little bit. It is way too frustrating of an experience when you just want to do a quick little side quest or start a world quest just to get some primos, and then you have to sit through mindless babbling. Like, come on, man, I just want to get some primos. Do I really have to set aside 90 minutes of my day just to get a third of a wish? All I'm asking for is that you just make it an option. You don't have to to make it flash on the screen, just have a little pause button or an ellipsis button on the top left or right with a drop-down menu that says skip. There are people who enjoy the game's story, yes.
If you don't care about the story at this point, you should drop the game because it's mainly a story game at this point. If you don't see that you are the problem there, by saying that, then you need to do some self-reflecting. Just because you play the game mainly for the story doesn't mean everybody does. This is a gacha game where you can collect characters and do open world exploration and endgame content, puzzles, many other things. Just because people don't play the game the way that you envision it doesn't mean that your way to play the game is the only way to play the game.
But there are also people who enjoy the game for the combat and the exploration. These stories can be interesting, yes, but they fill it with so much talking that it's easy for people to lose interest and just mash through the dialogue so that they can get it over with.
Archon Quest! Speaking of, let's go!
I think most people would agree that Sumeru and Fontaine have the best Archon Quest so far from a story perspective. I appreciate the general stories of these nations, but I do have a problem with both of them. That is especially prominent in Fontaine. There needs to
Interesting. Okay, hold on.
But I do have a problem with both of them. That is especially prominent in Fontaine. There needs to be more game in these sections. I know that sounds like such a meathead take, but I really do find it to be a problem. Fontaine as a whole is around 6 to 9 hours, and you get to play as your favorite characters 4 times, and 3 of those are in Act 5. Well, I think for now it's like actually 6 combat sections because of the new Dang quest, but the point still stands. Act 3 feels pretty pointless, and all of the secrets are just revealed in the next act, but then they immediately get overshadowed because the main story of Fontaine is actually about to happen. Sumeru's story is when the nations begin to have much longer Archon quests. Sumeru is close to like 8 hours at least, and the nations before that are so much shorter. Inazuma is around 3 to 4 hours if you don't include the Ayaka and Yoimiya story quest, and Liyue and Mondstadt are both around that same time if you don't take into account grinding the adventure rank. I'm okay with you doing longer stories for the Archon quests. I just want there to be less yapping with the NPCs, and I want to feel more involved with the story throughout the entire thing, rather than just being a cameraman. I want there
Okay, I get this take. I totally get it, but here's the thing. And this is something that a lot of the people that are fully ingrained into the story and the lore will be able to understand a bit more, I think. Like Mr. Feet says, though, he makes accounts to build them and do challenges, not necessarily for the story. Our entire role in Teyvat is quite literally being the cameraman. Zhongli said it himself in his story quest, dude. We're the witness. We're here to witness everything. We're not the fucking main hero yet. We probably will be eventually when we get all the powers and shit, but right now we're just witnessing. We are literally just witnessing. So it actually makes sense to witness these stories of the nations unfold before our very eyes and witness them rather than directly intervene. And even when we do directly intervene, I feel like a lot of the time it's not us that are saving the nation per se.
I don't want them to just slap on a treasure hoarder fight because we haven't had the player do anything in 40 minutes. Make the fights matter to the story. I'm not saying add a Dark Souls boss in between 2 talking points. Just write the fights so that they come more naturally into the story, so that way combat doesn't feel like a distraction.
Dude. Oh my god. Okay, I have something to say about this, chat. I have something to say about this. Writing the fight so that they come more natural in the story is an absolutely incredible thing that a lot of video games do that I don't feel like Genshin does until very, very, very recently. In the 4.8 summer event, when you're going through the castle and the enemies are spawning fucking wave by wave and you're just running through and they're breaking down the doors and spawning from the different areas and shit, that felt amazing, dude. That felt like you were part of a castle siege instead of them just spawning out of thin air as hillachals. It felt so clean and so fucking good, and I really hope that was a foreshadowing of what it's going to be like in Natlan, dude, because that was so sick.
But rather a necessity to the plot as a whole.
Makes
and
you
don't have to make us feel involved with just combat. They've made us think in Sumeru, which was a feature. Yeah. The debate mechanic was more interesting in Fontaine, and I guess in Natlan we're probably going to do like a spelling bee or whatever. But jokes aside, I would like to feel more involved within these Archon quests, whether it be through meaningful combat or another mechanic that they can make, so we no longer have to go through 20, 40, 50, 60.
Yeah, imagine just running through a fucking volcano, chat, and enemies are spawning, but dialogue's happening at the same time, you know? Which, you know what? I'll be totally real here. Some people might have a problem with that because it might be like, I can't focus on the dialogue while fighting, which is totally fair. But then we also have the new replay dialogue feature, right? And if it worked for that as well, I feel like it'd be fine.
60 minutes of nothing but straight talking.
I feel like that's just good storytelling.
Oh my god, no!
No, please not that. I actually feel like it's better sometimes, depending on what it, as long as it's not super important dialogue. I'm talking mainly the filler dialogue here, by the way, chat. Remember, a lot of the Orcon Quest dialogue is fucking unimportant. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it totally fucking real. While we were in the fucking prison with Risley, dude, in the Act 2 or whatever of Fontaine, right? I need y'all to keep it real with me. The amounts of times that we had to go down and do a fucking job and do that stupid thing with the dude down there being like, yeah, so you got to do this and this. It was fucking pointless. We did not need to do that shit. If he could have just spoke to us in our head while we were running around doing that shit instead of going into a dialogue sequence every time, it'd have been far better and quicker. That's what I'm talking about. Those kinds of things would be far better just in a combat sequence rather than having the combat sequence and then halfway through having the dialogue clicking, combat sequence, dialogue, clicking. Just let it all happen at the same time if it's unimportant to the main story. Make us feel more immersed.
No!
I mean, that's the point of being in prison. Not my point, but yeah.
No, I don't want to talk to people again.
I agree that is the point with being in prison, but that wasn't my point that I was talking about.
Oh my god, I don't want to talk to people again. Oh my god.
Jesus. Quality of life changes.
These are just some fixes that I really wish they would add after playing other games. They've made some good ones in the 4.0 cycle, like the claim all button for expeditions, which is crazy that it took 3 years. Daily commissions changed to where you can explore, and that'll actually like get you the encounter points, the long-term encounter points. That was a good change.
They have made a lot of good changes. I hate the well, it pisses me off that you still have to go to Catherine to claim your daily rewards.
Abilities resetting in the Abyss whenever you choose to restart a floor. They've been steadily making some good changes, but there's definitely some more that need to be done, in my opinion.
Also, the solo-focused experience for quests was a good change, but they need to add it for older quests because I think it's only for Fontaine ones. Really? Is that true? Is it only for Fontaine ones? I do agree it's a very good change.
First is dailies. We literally have a button that says claim rewards, but
oh, this is going to be what I just said. Yeah, you can claim the rewards, but you can't claim the daily rewards.
But it's a f***ing tease. Just let us collect the rewards wherever we are. There's no reason to visit Catherine every day. Crafting
really
menu, why can't we just have this as an option in the pause menu? We don't have to go to a table every time. You could just like write in some excuse to where it's like, we have a gadget and now we can do it wherever we are. Allow us to collect dailies in co-op. Allow the traveler to swap elements in the menu. Make artifact grinding a lot easier.
Yeah, make co-op better again. Make co-op great again, dude. Can we do something? Can we make it so that certain things are just interactable in co-op? Like certain characters, certain NPCs, also statues of the fucking seven open up the world. Because goddamn, co-op's insufferable sometimes, having to leave the world and rejoin and leave the world and rejoin. It should be way more fluid.
Oh, and holy shit, I just remembered, give us artifact loadouts. I nearly forgot about that. Allow constellations to be turned off and on. Allow us to buy old event weapons in the item shops, and that now reminds me about events.
Oh god, here we go. This will be a juicy one.
I have 2 things to say about events. 1, make the important ones permanent, and 2, quit recycling so many of them. Imagine a newer player does the albedo
But Mr. Feet, the researchers need help. Do you not want them to get help?
story quest, and they just become their absolute favorite character. They save their Primo gems, wait probably like a year for an Albedo rerun, and they get him, but they can't use his best weapon. Nope, the cinnamon roll is gone forever. Get ready to use that R5 Harbinger of Dawn I know you got from all those 10 pools, and don't worry, if you're still sad about this, then you can go over to Mondstadt and buy the old balloons from previous events. Should have played this game 2 years ago, you idiot. And this isn't fully event related, but can we just talk about the updates? Am I the only one that feels that, like, some of these patches aren't even updates? There's 2 things that usually come with every update: a character / their story quest, and events. But let's break this down. If you don't pull for the character, then nothing really changed. You can do their story quest, but that's what, 90 minutes of content for a patch that lasts like a month and a half? Then we have the events, which sometimes they can be fun, but they go away from the game after like a week and a half. Or they will just reuse events like a combat domain in which you go into the door and get a buff that screen nukes the enemies. So if you've already done that event before, what changed? This is a live service game, but some of these updates don't even feel like an update. They feel like they took a step forward, then after...
Ooh, interesting. That's a strong statement. That's a strong statement.
Already done that event before, what changed? This is a live service game, but some of these updates don't even feel like an update.
Can I keep it real with you guys, chat? Other than one update in Fontaine, which was... I can't even remember which one it was, dude. Which kind of goes without saying at this point. I don't think I've had a single update in Fontaine where I've been like, yeah, maybe 4.5, yeah. I don't think I've had a single update in Fontaine where I've been like, this doesn't feel like an update. I feel like every update has felt substantial in the amount of content that was given or provided to us. It's just that some updates I just really fucking didn't enjoy. And that's fine. You're not going to enjoy everything the game has to offer. That's just dumb as shit. That you're going to enjoy every aspect of a game is kind of wild.
They feel like they took a step forward, then after a week and a half, they took a step back.
There is nothing to do. Please. I really hope Mr. Feet agrees with me on this one, dude. I really, really hope he does. There is pretty much always something to do in Genshin Impact. There's just not always something you want to do in Genshin Impact. Bro, the amount of times I'm like, oh, there's nothing to do. Bro, I open up my fucking quest list, it's stacked. There's so many quests I can do. There's so many hangouts I can do. There's teapot I could do. There's other endgame stuff that I haven't done yet that I can do. There is so much to do. I just don't want to do it. There's just nothing that I want to do. And that doesn't mean that there's no content in the game. It literally just means there's nothing that interests me at that point, which is totally fine.
The common complaints about Genshin is that there's nothing to do, which does have some truth to it, especially after like AR-55, but I would disagree with that statement for the earlier portions of the game. Genshin is a very front-loaded game. There is so much for a new player.
I would honestly disagree with it, period. I really would. I also think if you truly have nothing to do, can I sound rude for a second, chat? I don't usually like to sound rude or like offend anybody, but if you truly have nothing to do every single patch update in Genshin, please do something else with your life. Do some other interesting hobbies and interesting things, because if you're literally 100% in every region and doing every single quest and everything and 90 characters and triple crowning them as soon as they come out, holy fuck, you need to do more things. If you're complaining that there's nothing to do, hey, if you do all those things and you're like, yep, I've done everything, I'll just wait till the next patch, I think it's fine. But if you're doing all this shit, if you're 100% in a whole new region in 24 hours of it releasing, doing all the quests, doing all the content, pulling for the characters, pre-farming, looking at leaks, triple crowning, all that jazz, and then you're like, oh god, this game sucks, there's nothing to do. You fucking did it to yourself, Jesus Christ.
Player to do. You've got a ton of story quests, hangout quests, world quests, whole nations to explore, events, Archon quests, and even though I only said like 5 or 6 topics off the top of my head, there was a lot to explore with that content.
I've done all the side quests and 100% did all maps, and then when I have nothing to do, I just play something else, like cosplaying as a biffy femboy. Interesting. What's biffy? I don't even know what that is. But yeah, dude, that's fine. If you're fully aware that you just know life in the fuck out of the game and you're okay with that, and you're fully aware that there's going to be nothing else to do, but you're not mad about it, who gives a fuck, right? That's just how you want to play the game. It is what it is. But if you're one of these people that are just rushing the fuck out of content and then being like, oh, there's nothing to do, then you've done it to yourself. I have no sympathy for you.
The problem is just that some of that content isn't very good. It can be
okay.
Even though I only said like 5 or 6 topics off the top of my head, there was a lot to explore with that content. The problem is just that some of that content isn't very good. It can...
Again, I don't think it's that the content isn't very good. I think it's just not your cup of tea. That's how I like to look at it. It's not that the content isn't good, it's just that it's not for you.
It can be draining, but worst of all, it can be boring. There's a good bit of story quests, world quests, and even some Archon quests that feel like a complete waste of time.
Oh, okay. No, definitely not pre-watched. Bro, I haven't had... I know, that's a lie. I have had 40 minutes over the past couple of days to watch videos. I didn't even see this until today.
But worst of all, it can be boring. There's a good bit of story quests, world quests, and even some Archon quests that feel like a complete waste of time. Let's look at unfinished comedy for a second. I recently had to do this for a challenge run, and it was the first time I'd ever done it, so I'll summarize the first 30 to 60 minutes of this quest. You and these kids are trying to get out of the prison. Your goal is to collect coupons in a competition in which the winners get to leave. In order to get coupons, you must talk...
Hold on. Mr. Feet. Is this the quest that introduced Kata? Yeah, dude, this was so important. I hope he's not saying this was unimportant. Hold on.
Is to collect coupons in a competition in which the winners get to leave. In order to get coupons, you must talk to probably 8 NPCs and do short little quests to get your coupons. But at the end of the first part, another group got more tickets than you guys. Oh well, but then it's revealed that one of your teammates bought other workers to help your group get more coupons, so you end up winning the event. So now I just have one question. What was the point in this? A literal waste of an hour, and all I got...
Okay, I see. But this is exactly my point, by the way. This is exactly my point. If Mr. Feet is playing these quests for the rewards and to get it done for a challenge, it's very different than playing the quest to get to know the character for world building, lore, and future quests. It's not that the quest doesn't have anything important in it, it's that it's not made for you and what you're looking for in the quest. I thought it was a great quest once I'd done the other ones after it. I thought it was just okay at first, but we still learned about Kata in that quest, and it was still pretty interesting in my opinion, lore-wise.
40 primo gems. 40, not even a third of a wish.
See, yeah, this is where I disagree with a lot of people, though, dude. I don't give a fuck about the primo gems. I just don't care. And it's not even because of a whale, dude. It really isn't. I could quite happily play this game free to play. I just like pulling for characters and having something new to do. Oh, God, please talk about the severe lack of skins.
They are literally free money. Make more of them, especially 5-star skins. Change the burst animations, or at least some color variations. And by that, I don't just mean turning the contrast up by 20%. Imagine if dilute...
Bro.
Color variations, and by that, I don't just mean turning the contrast up.
Nah, fuck it. Just turn the contrast up. Just do something. This was sick. Nobody can deny, if you played a Luke, dude, nobody can deny that this skin was literally game-changing when it came out. Just based on everything. The sound design of the skin, having different sounds. The ult animation. The fucking idols is peak. It's fantastic. Add more 5-star skins like this and make them even better, for sure. But it's still so good.
Up by 20%. Imagine if Diluc or Dia had a skin that used blue fire, or Kaching had, like, black lightning. That might cause some problems because of how reactions look and work, but surely there has to be some capacity to alter colors, or at the very least change animations. There is so much potential with skins, and I wish we got...
Give us this animation.
...more than just putting the leeway characters in dresses and suits for every lantern right. And also, make them purchasable via Primo Gems. If someone's willing to give up, like, 50 pulls just to get a skin for a character they like, then why can't they? I mean, we all know the actual answer to that.
Money!
But it's still...
I do also think making them purchasable with Primo Gems would be a far better way to go about it as well. I feel like they'd make a lot more money that way.
Like 50 pulls just to get a skin for a character they like, then why can't they? I mean, we all know the actual answer to that.
Money!
But it's still...
You could you literally... would they be able to do, like, just pulling numbers out of my ass here, for example, would they be able to charge like 8,000? We'll make it easy. Let's say 10,000 Primo Gems for a skin, but give a 20% discount if you buy it with Genesis crystals, because you have to buy the Genesis crystals. So make it like 8,000. Again, pulling numbers out of my ass. They should never make it that expensive. But I'm saying, would that be legal? Would they be able to do that? You think that's a law thing for sure? Maybe. This is already the case in Reverse 1999, so it's legal. Oh, interesting. Then yeah, I don't know why they don't just fucking do that.
Weapon banner, we all know it's a scam. Just separate the weapon banners like Star Rail. That's literally all you have to do. I know why it's not separated.
Money!
I actually don't agree with this. I don't think separating the weapon banner like Star Rail is the best course of action. I feel like it's a course of action. I think Wuwa does weapon banners fantastically. Literally fantastically. Especially the standard one, dude, where you can select the weapon and change it at any fucking time. I think that is phenomenal. And I think if they are going to change the weapon banner at all... Sure, separate it like Wuwa, but then you kind of have to remove the pity system as well, right? Or Star Rail. But yeah, I think I think you need to do a little more to it than what exists in Star Rail for it to be good.
But whales are going to spin regardless. There is no reason for a free-to-play player to go on Weapon Banner at the moment, unless they've been saving for like half a year and they can maybe get both the character and the weapon, or they already have the character and they just want the weapon. Yeah. If they're feeling nice, they could guarantee the Weapon Banner, but we all know that's not going to happen. This one's really brief because this banner's a lost cause.
Fair. Character banners.
I think Genshin is ready for a third banner. This is actually the like one change I could see actually happening, like maybe early in the Natland cycle. It could be another limited character banner, a birthday banner, or a Chronicle Wishes. Either way, I just think we need another consistent banner. And also, standard banner really needs an update. Please just let us pick whatever we want for our 5-star.
Or, which would be cool, being able to pick whatever the fuck you want for your 5-star. Sure, that'd be awesome, but they're not going to do that at all because of the Chronicled Wish system. They're not going to do that. I would put money on the fact that they are never going to do that because of the Chronicled Wish. I think the best way to fix the standard banner is what I've said all along, dude. I've said it for almost years at this point. Separate it into 2 standard banners, 1 character standard banner, 1 weapon standard banner, and just 50-50 the fucking lot. Have 1 goal and 50-50.
As it stands, there is no real reason for someone with a normal account to pull on standard banner. None. Literally none whatsoever. The game gives you 20 standard banner pulls at the beginning of the game. You get them for leveling characters, and other than that, it's just the monthly reset. That is it. You get pink wishes from events, the Archon quests. There is no reason to use your Primo gems on standard banner. And if someone wants a character or weapon from that banner, then let them pick it. I'm ARC.
Actually, there is a reason to use your Primo gems on standard banner. And it's kind of a reason that sucks, but it's one of the only ways to get the starter characters. Other than the shop.
60, but I've never had the Skyward Harp. I don't have Dia. I don't have the Wolf's Gravestone, and more. Just
Basted! Aw, I still have never gotten a legit Wolf's Gravestone.
Let us pick and have a reason to pull on this banner, aside from us doing the monthly reset and getting a 5-star on the banner like once a year. And since we're talking about wishes, let's just talk briefly about the rewards. Does anyone else think it's funny how the Nouvelle, quote, bug fix revert gave us the same rewards as our yearly anniversary? I'm not complaining. I'll take a 10 pull any day of the week. I just wish that the game in general was this generous, especially since their sibling gives out a 10 pull for like every patch while we only get it annually. Oh gosh, this game is so funny.
That is one thing. I just think the drama is always funny every time the anniversary comes around, dude, because it's never that fucking deep.
This is mainly here because I just want more. I don't really care about the meta reactions or any of that stuff. I really don't. I just want them to add more layers to the gameplay and have all the elements work with each other. Can we get more elemental reactions so we don't have to wait 2 years for the off chance that we might get elements in the future? Can we just like have more fun with team resonances? Like, what if you have 4 Anemo characters and you have like a tornado that shows up every time you do an elemental skill? What if you have like 4 crowd characters and you hit an enemy with all of your characters on your team? It freezes them. That way you can actually get freeze off without having a Hydro character on the team. I'm just listing stuff off the top of my head, but I mean, like, surely there's more fun to be had with the game mechanics.
Or, like, if you have 4 cryo characters and you go to fight, like, the fucking, I don't know, Tartaglia boss, you can inflict him with Frostbite. His foul legacy falls off.
Like I mentioned earlier, if you're not going to make the enemies more interesting, then make our gameplay more interesting. Give Geo some cool shit. Give Anemos special reactions for like Geo and Dendro. There's so much that can be done with elements. And I don't want to have to wait for the chance that maybe Imaginary and Quantum could eventually come into this game in order for there to be more for us to experiment with.
Interesting. I do actually agree with that.
There are times to where it's like, we really shouldn't even have the option to speak. Just let Paimon say everything because either our options don't matter or they just get flat out ignored. And since I mentioned Paimon, let me just give my thoughts on her, and it's not going to be some stupid comment like, I think Paimon's voice is annoying, because I don't. That's not my problem with Paimon.
Yeah. Her writing.
I understand Paimon's purpose in the game. I do not have a problem with her yapping because it makes sense to have her there for players having a hard time understanding the material. But there's 2 solutions to this. Have a skip cutscene button, or at the very least, make our dialogue options matter. The worst example of this is at the end of the second days of quest, and I'll let this clip from Zach speak for itself.
By the way, what they said just now is all pretty confusing. Did you understand it at all?
Yeah, I pretty much got it.
Oh, well then, let's go over it again.
No, please don't.
Well then, let's go over it again.
No, please don't. I chose the first option so that you would not make me go over it again.
You're like, I got it. I got it.
Oh, okay. They just, this is fine.
First off, that
Oh, never mind.
I am okay with Paimon being in the game. Just make it so that she doesn't force herself onto everything if we don't want her to. I get that this is a game made for people of all ages, and when you do that, you have to cater towards...
Wow. I mean, fair, honestly. All ages, people under 12 don't exist.
children, but don't treat everyone like they're a child. A child can read a prompt that says...
Bro, you know, the older I've got, the more vehemently annoying children are.
Yes, I understand what was said, and no, can you repeat it?
Unvoiced important dialogue.
We have a joke on my channel. If there's no audio, it doesn't matter. But I do think there is some truth to that statement. There are important quests that do not have dialogue, such as the Aranara quest, but I can't be the only one who feels that.
I feel like that's a bad example. The reason why I feel like that's a bad example is because that's a lot of very, very difficult to pronounce words for such a long quest. But something like the jet quest as well, yeah. I mean, it is a good example because there was a lot of very important details in the Aranara quest. But bro, if I had to say Mahavana Ranapna 15 times in 3 hours, or even more than that, I'd want paying more than $100 an hour like most voice actors. I'm just gonna put that out there, dude. Holy fuck.
Whenever Hoyoverse makes a quest that isn't voiced, it kind of signals to me that this quest is not gonna be nearly as important as the other ones. When I hear
some of the world quests are, in my opinion, even more important than the Archon quest so far.
Paimon or another character speak, whether or not I care about what they say does not matter. I am at least getting a signal that this is something important to the main story. When they don't speak anything and I'm having to read a visual novel, I get the sign that this quest will never be mentioned again in anything meaningful. I know that the R&R quest has important lore to it, but I really don't want to have to read through 11 hours of dialogue to enjoy it. This is a topic of controversy that has been brought back up. It was around for Sumeru, and with the Natlan character lineup, it's been brought back. And here are my personal thoughts on the situation. Am I surprised? Not at all. Am I disappointed? Yes. Do I think it's justified to be upset about this? Yes. If a game takes influence from your culture, then I think they should not.
Oh, I see.
Is a topic of controversy that has been brought back up. It was around for Sumeru, and with the Natlan character lineup, it's been brought back. And here are my personal thoughts on the situation. Am I surprised? Not at all. Am I disappointed? Yes. Do I think it's justified to be upset about this? Yes. If a game takes influence from your culture, then I think they should not be afraid to make important characters, not just NPCs, have different skin tones that represent people from that culture. Does this mean all that you have to do is just load into Photoshop, eyedrop tool, brown, paint bucket, and then boom, you're done? No, because there's a large variety of skin colors present in Latin American, African, and Polynesian cultures. There are plenty of designs from the Natlan lineup that do look much better with a darker skin color, especially for some characters where their designs look like they were actively made for a darker skin color. And this is even
yeah, I'd never seen this one. This one looks fucking goated, dude. Holy shit.
Some characters where their designs look like they were actively made for a darker skin color. And this is even more prevalent because one of the characters that's coming out has glowing lights, but you can barely notice it because their skin is so pale. Like I said at the beginning, this is not the first time they've done this. This issue was present in Sumeru, but the hopes back then were that at least Natlan will have darker skin colors, but that isn't the case, which is why the outrage has come back.
This boss in the background has distracted the fuck out of me, dude. He's so aggressive, and every time it makes the fucking sword clashing sound, it makes me like, ugh.
These characters are named after figures from real life cultures. So whenever someone looks up the names of Kenet, Olorun, Shilonen, this is what they will see.
Wait, what? Oh, I forgot to include Alhaitham. I was like, wait, they'll see Alhaitham? The fuck? I forgot to include Alhaitham as an example along with the others. Alhaitham is considered the father of optics, which is why Alhaitham's gameplay involves mirrors. Yes.
I love that this game uses other cultures for inspirations of their nations. It is one of my favorite aspects.
Yeah, I will always say the same thing about this as well, dude. It's not like Genshin don't represent cultures well, because they do. They represent cultures incredibly well through various different means, including music, architecture, character designs in terms of like outfits and stuff. It's just the skin color. I feel like that's the only area where they really fall short. Which is sad.
Of Genshin, but seeing the lack of diverse skin colors is
and the music
very depressing to look at. And this goes for all nations, not just Sumeru and Natlan. It gets harder to immerse yourself into this world full of different landscapes and nations when the majority of the cast share the same color. They do great jobs with the actual clothing designs of some characters, but other times they don't. Even though I don't come from African, Latin American, or Polynesian cultures, I still like to learn about them, and I like to see them represented in media. I love mythology, and I love to learn about them, and I like to see them
specifically since they are often underrepresented
in media. I love mythology, and I love learning about these parts of different cultures. Smite is one of my favorite games ever made.
706. Are you, Mr. Feet, are you okay? Not including the time I spent on console for 5 years. Hey, Mr. Feet, 707.8 hours and only 41 achievements out of 319. You need a duo?
And whenever I saw the design of Olorin on Twitter and people were comparing the Genshin and Smite ones, it kind of threw me for a loop, but that's a little off topic.
Yeah, I still need more confirmation on this one because apparently this was said that it might not even be a representation at all and it's just a mistranslation in the name. That is just never confirmed that this guy was supposed to represent Olorin of people, so I don't know about this one specifically. Because outside of representation, I really like this design, dude. Like, I think this design is really nice. I think it's cool, mainly because of the element symbols that we haven't really seen before other than on the sustainer. The cubes. And just the fact that he's a complete fucking mystery. But if he is supposed to represent Olorin, then yeah, it's a weird one. We were also informed last time we spoke about this, Olorin doesn't actually have a body. It's literally all just depictions of, like, an imaginary form. Olorin doesn't have a human form in the slightest. So it's kind of... this is a weird one, but I do understand it as well because people have given him, like, this human form, so when another game doesn't take from this human form that is still conjured up in people's minds, then it's still seen as bad. It's very strange. It's a very weird topic with Olorin specifically, dude.
For right now. By the way, don't play Smite. But
Very
like
weird.
seeing the all-powerful supreme being of Yoruba who created the heavens and all living things, a being who has no real physical form and is everywhere at all points, look like the MC of...
But that's the point, right? If he doesn't have a physical form, like any physical form at all, then... That's the thing.
They rip off solo leveling
weird.
manhwa, just like what? I know the character isn't actually
see
supposed to be
solo leveling.
Olorun in the Genshin universe,
For sure.
or at least I really hope that is not the case.
No.
Next, I just hope that Shibalanke doesn't look like an isekai protagonist with a tattoo of a jaguar head on his arm. I am fully aware that this game is fictional, but if you're gonna take aspects from real life cultures, then you should represent all the different types of people from said culture. I've long accepted that they don't care about global opinions, so I expect absolutely nothing to happen, but I still just wanted to get all of this off my chest.
Feel like just a name change would fix it. Yeah, but you have to remember this is also Genshin Impact, where in the manga they called the fucking Pyro Archon Murata. You know, like Himeko Murata. And that was also a mistranslation that was never changed. So people still to this day think the Pyro Archon was called Murata when she just wasn't.
To end this rant off, I just want to say that I still love the game. You might be thinking that someone like me who keeps playing through the game on multiple accounts is burnt out.
Oh, yeah, there's probably a lot of people in chat as well that also still thought the Pyro Archon, the old Pyro Archon was called Murata. I only found out quite recently that that is not the case. It was just a mistranslation.
And the answer to that is both yes and no. I'm not burnt out on the challenge runs because believe it or not, I still actually do enjoy doing them. Well, I enjoy doing them up until a certain point, and that point's kind of like Sumeru because that's when I'm more watching a game than I am actually playing it. But I'm honestly more burnt out on my main account. I have plenty to do, but I just don't want to do it because I know that most of these quests will just be a yap fest about characters that I don't care about. When I see changes being announced for the game,
it sucks to go into with that mindset too, though, because for World Quest now, dude, I can't get into it with that mindset because I've fallen in love with so many World Quest related characters like Jet and just the whole cast of characters in that quest line.
It doesn't make me excited. It just makes me think, why did it take so long? Are you doing this because you're actually listening to us, or does Wuthering Waves frighten you that much? The 200 Resin announcement is honestly what made me want to make this rant, because
I feel like the 200 Resin wasn't necessarily done just because of Wuthering Waves. I feel like it was also probably done because of the new Endgame that requires you to actually invest more in characters. I just feel like they implemented it in such a rushed way that it looks like it was pressure from Wuwa. And you could agree or disagree with that, chat, but at the end of the day, I think they know deep down, and all the players know, that increasing from 160 to 200 resin, it doesn't do shit if you don't increase the resin refresh time. And also increasing it from 160 to 200 when all the other games have like minimum 240 now is also crazy.
this is a change that everyone's been asking for, including me, but I felt nothing when it happened, and at that point, I realized that there was other issues I had with the game that I needed to address. Why do we not have a better overcapping resin system? Why is our recharge still 8 minutes? Why do we have to go to Catherine every day for dailies? Why can't we just craft in the menu? Why can't we swap elements with Traveler in the menu? And like, there's so much more I could go on about. You may have noticed that a lot of my complaints revolve around like the new player experience, and that's because I go through that a lot, but the difference
I know the 200 is just so that you can log in once per day and not overflow, but that's not players' primary issue. It's the fact that we need more resin to build the incessant amount of characters that are coming out rapidly, and that we haven't had an actual resin increase since fucking 1.1 or whenever the fuck it was.
I know what to do and play around it, but a newer player wouldn't. I want the game to grow, but I can completely understand why a newer player would easily drop the game. This game has just so much potential, and like, notice how I said has there and not had, because I do believe that there is still hope for this game, however small that light.
Bro, no matter what anybody says, Genshin Impact is one of the best games out there right now. And I think that's very evident with the amount of players that this game has all the time and how much profit they make all the fucking time. You can be a hater as much as you want, but if you deny the fact that Genshin Impact is one of the best games out on the market, you're delusional. You're fucking delusional, because it just is. Again, might not be 100% your cup of tea, but in terms of what makes a game good, Genshin has it, dude. Whether it's the foundation or whether it's the final building blocks, it has everything.
Light may be, and who knows, maybe that light is actually a train of disappointment that's coming to run me over. This game has steadily been making more quality of life changes, which is good. That's mainly what I want more of, but there's still plenty more work to be done. I want this game to grow and attract newer players, but the lack of quality of life changes and the lack of endgame makes it hard to recommend newer players and older players to come back. I remember when I was streaming and I was asked, do I like HSR or Genshin more? And I said I enjoy playing Genshin more, but if I had to recommend anyone a gacha game, it would be HSR, because
see, that's crazy to me. And not because I don't like HSR. I think HSR is also a phenomenal game. But as a new player getting into HSR, it's definitely more user-friendly to be able to catch up and things like that. But bro, the amount of fucking power creep is crazy. The amount of power creep is insane.
Because it is just a much more fair experience for the player. And when you play other games, you begin to see and question Genshin's issues even more, in the lack of
HSR doesn't even have any gameplay. That's a take of all time.
attention they receive. Additionally, I would also like to add that for the foreseeable future, I will be going free-to-play for the Hoyoverse games, not just Genshin. I've already made my accounts for Standard Banner 5 stars and the Archons for those challenge videos.
Nice.
I made those accounts in December/January, so they've already got my money, but I don't want to spend more. For the Archon series, I know that I will more than likely have to spin for the Pyro Archon and the Cryo Archon. So ultimately,
I disagree with Genshin having a better new player experience. I think Belobog and the pulls you get by nature of leveling up makes it a lot easier to get into. But Genshin, you also get a lot of free pulls from the entire story, and that's not what I mean by new player experience either. I mean, Genshin, in my opinion, is just a lot more accessible in terms of what kind of game it is to a lot of people. A lot of people don't like turn-based games in general, to be honest. It's also very much more strict on building teams and also artifacts. You have to have perfect sets. You can't have an off-piece, things like that. I think Genshin is just much more new player friendly. It's also much easier. It's a much easier game.
Probably have to drop some cash to make those challenges and the videos for you guys. Maybe I'm lucky and I can get them without spending, but realistically it probably won't happen. If I do have to spend money on those accounts, then I will donate double the amount of that money to charity. I know that it still doesn't undo the fact that Hoyoverse has my money, but I would still like to at least give out money for a company that I know will make a good change in the real world, rather than some changes I would want in a fictional one. My decision Hoyoverse has my double the amount of that money to charity. I know that it still doesn't undo the fact that Hoyoverse has my money, but I would still like to at least give out money for a company that I know will make a good change in the real world, rather than some changes I would want in a fictional one. My decision to
That's a weird take, in my opinion. At the end of the day, people spend money on shit that doesn't impact the real world positively all the fucking time. You buy an iPhone, you're not really impacting the world positively. You get fuel, you're not really impacting the world positively. You buy the majority of things that are made in a fucking sweatshop, whatever. Hoyo themselves have openly come out and said multiple times that they're using a lot of the profits for real world benefits, like, you know, the collabs that they're doing with nature and things like that, and the nuclear fusion reactors that they're making and stuff. So it's a bit of a weird take, or maybe just an uneducated take, which is also fine. It's also like, and I don't know if I'm not saying this is Mr. Feet, but it's the same as people that pay for like Twitter Blue and stuff, right? Twitter Blue is not helping the real fucking world. It's really not. But it's benefiting the people that get it and stuff like that. So it is what it is. Sometimes it's just the better of two evils or whatever. It is what it is for a lot of things.
To go free to play stems from like all the issues that I've mentioned in the video and more.
Oh, what was that?
Go free to play stems from.
I was considering going free to play earlier, but the Netland lineup reveal helped make it final. I mean, that's fair.
Like all the issues that I've mentioned in the video and more.
Posted a disclaimer, I know it seems hypocritical to ask for skins and say that I'm going free to play. I have never bought skins and I do not intend to, but I would still like to see them express their creative potential with skins because I know it's possible. I would like to see more people come out, other than Lantern Right and Summer skins. I think that's fair. I
do not want to directly give Hoyoverse any of my money from my wallet until they start treating players with more respect and make more changes that we as a community have been asking for nearly 4 years. Not just the changes that I've been mentioning in this video. It pisses me off because we all want the game to do better and we all know that they have the potential to do better. Because this is the same company that listens to the complaints made towards their other games like Star Rail and ZZZ. At this point, I just want to ask them, like, why do you hate Genshin so much? It's like, I mean, I get it, but you're the one who made the game. I don't even know anymore, man. Like I said earlier, I hope this video gets dated.
Yeah, like I said, I still really enjoy Genshin for what it is, dude. I don't think it's a bad game in the fucking slightest. I love playing it daily, however many times I play it. Whether it's daily, whether it's weekly, doesn't matter. I just enjoy the fucking game. Not spend on Genshin, but spend on HSR still winning. No, he said he's not going to spend money on Hoyo games, so I'd assume that means HSR as well.
And they, like, update everything and just start listening to us. But at the moment, I don't really have any expectations for the Natland cycle. And truthfully, I haven't had much expectations for this game for the past couple of years. Hopefully things change, but yeah. I don't really see that happening. Which is probably the most depressing part about all of this. But that's the end of the video. If you guys have any thoughts on the game that you would like to share, positive or negative, just please leave them down in the comments and let's all just have a discussion and just vent. Let's just get it all out. I know that there are probably tons of issues that I missed, so I'm curious as to what you all think. Yeah, that's it for Chris at the moment. Thank you all for listening to me yap for like over half an hour, I think. But take care.
Hell yeah, good video, dude, good video. There were some things that I definitely disagreed with, but a lot of things that I agreed with. I think that was a really well thought out video. Bro did say that he scripted it out and stuff as well for some of it, so it makes perfect sense. And yeah, that was Mr. Feet. If you know who Mr. Feet is, there's the link to the channel. Definitely go check him out. Makes a lot of very fun content on like solo in the game, or basically can you beat Genshin Impact using only X character and different challenges and stuff like that too. Very, very fun. Very, very fun.